I'm John Bunch, Black Dragon, author of my newest book, The Sergeant at Arms Bible, Soldier Sergeant of the Brotherhood. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit. I'm do a few series on some things in this book. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about conflict resolution. And you will find the chapter on conflict resolution on page 74 in the Sergeant at Arms Bible. And the chapter on conflict resolution deals with one of the biggest jobs of the Sergeant at Arms, which is to resolve conflict within members within the motorcycle club, and of course situations outside of the motorcycle club. And it's part of how the Sergeant at Arms will handle crises and conflict. So we'll talk a little bit about conflict resolution, negotiation, and mediation in a few of my upcoming videos, to talk about what the Sergeant at Arms should be doing to run his motorcycle club smoothly. So we'll talk about conflicts and disagreements, negotiation, why negotiate, stages of negotiation, stages of mediation, and how to mediate a meeting between two people or two parties that aren't getting along well, has to do with preparation, defining the conflict, defining the points of agreement, creating options for agreements, and developing an agreement. So, believe it or not, there are actually people that are paid to be conflict negotiators for a living. These are the people that go around and on a large level, it might be like the Secretary of State for the United States of America or some other country. So that's like on like a global level. And on smaller levels, there are people who get paid for conflict negotiation. They are crisis managers. You might see them as judges. They're also called mediators. The football league has one. A lot of companies, when you join the company, they make you sign something that says you won't take us to court. Instead, if you have a problem with us, we'll handle that through arbitration or mediation, which is a lot easier than a court system. It goes a lot faster. You don't have as many rights, but you don't have as many rules. And you can come to an agreement fairly quickly. And so a lot of times you'll sign contracts, like if you're going to be with you're going to join a football team, or you're going to do whatever the case may be, buy a house, all kinds of things. You can see where instead of going to court and taking up this huge process, instead we will have a mediator, and that mediator's job will be to mediate the conflict and bring it to a resolution. So the Sergeant at Arms is the professional mediator, as it were, for the motorcycle club. His job is among the many jobs that I detail for him in this book. This book is like 200 pages of his job. Actually, about 190 pages of what his job should be. So the conflict resolution part is the Sergeant at Arms' job to maintain order, good order and discipline. And you can't have good order and discipline if everybody's angry and fussing and fighting and nobody seems to be able to get along. So the Sergeant at Arms can maintain this good order and discipline by maintaining among the people peace. So when you have conflict, you have two sides that don't get along. One brother is mad about this, and another brother is mad about that. And conflicts can become so terrible in a club two guys fighting over something. Well, this brother's friends in the club, his brothers that see his side, and on this side, this brother's brothers see his side. It can split the whole club apart. It can get so big that brothers are shooting at each other. Brothers are beating on each other, hitting each other, hurting each other, saying the most terrible things to one another. It can really get bad. Conflict is like a cancer. Once it gets started, it starts to infect and affect negatively everyone around. So you can't allow conflict to exist in your club, because it becomes a cancer that eats away at everyone. And before it's all said and done, if allowed to go unchecked, the casualties that this cancer will take will just be staggering. So the Sergeant at Arms has to put an end to the conflict as soon as possible. So part of conflict resolution is getting two parties to come to an agreement about an issue where they both disagree and they both want everything their way. So you see this between the Republicans and the Democrats in the United States right now, arguing over health care. And as they argue over this health care, and who is going to be right or who's going to be wrong, each side, for the most part, has enough votes. Oh, sorry, I got a cop coming up behind me. Each side has enough votes that they can each side has enough votes that they can cause enough chaos that nothing gets done. So instead of having nothing get done, each side is going to have to compromise in order to get something that they want. So the first thing that a savvy Sergeant at Arms realizes is that when there is a conflict and there are two sides and each side is strong and each side feels empowered and emboldened and each side feels as though it's right and each side doesn't want to give in, the Sergeant at Arms realizes that he's going to have to create a compromise that lets everyone have something that they can live with. And giving everyone something that they can live with allows you to often put the issue to bed and never have it come up again, because everyone has agreed that they can live with this something. And that's where you get a very smooth Sergeant at Arms, a master Sergeant at Arms, one that's been around a while and knows how to smooth over things and issues between people. He is the ultimate problem solver. He's dad. He's the crisis man. He has an answer or a system to get to an answer for everything that's going wrong between conflict between individuals. Now, there's a couple ways a Sergeant at Arms can handle this. He can walk in with the hammer of Thor and say, you're going to do this darn thing the way I say do it because I'm the Sergeant at Arms and that's the way it's going to be done. But the problem you run into in a motorcycle club is you're not paying anybody any salaries. People are there because they love to be there. People are there because they want to be there. And so when you just announce it's going to be this way and no other way and you slam down the gavel, you're really setting yourself up for people to not really function like you want them to. You're setting yourself up for this being a problem down the line. Why? Because you never settled anything. You just gave an order, but you didn't placate the feelings of the people that were involved. Part of being a good Sergeant at Arms is placating feelings. These guys are all big babies. Every single one of them. I don't care how tough your motorcycle club is, how tough your soldiers are. They're only tough to people on the outside. Inside the club, they're the biggest damn babies you ever wanted to see. The biggest egotistical, whiny, my way or the highway 2-year-olds you've ever seen in your life. So you gotta kind of get used to dealing with these big old babies. And part of that is giving each baby something he can take home as a trophy to say, okay, well, I got something out of this. I negotiated and I settled, but I got something out of it to take home and call my own. So negotiations are the key to resolving conflict. Negotiations and compromise. What am I going to be able to negotiate these guys into accepting, to accept a compromise that allows them and all of their prospective sides to go along and say, I don't like everything, but I got enough that I can be happy. So one of the things that you have to do as a sergeant at arms is you have to always consider both sides. You can never think, I know what's going on here, and make a decision. You have to act like Switzerland. You have to be neutral in everything, even when you think you know the answer, and grind it through a process. The process is designed to keep you from failure. You have to design your own process. Let us say that two guys are arguing over a motorcycle transaction where I said I would buy such and such's motorcycle and give him such and such amount of money per month. And now I'm 3 months late on my payment. And that seems pretty cut and dry. Oh man, you're late on your payment. Give JB the money or give me your cut. But it's not always so easy. Because maybe JB you took him out to, the guy took him out to dinner a few times, and the guy bought the dinner. And JB doesn't realize that that guy was counting that dinner towards the payment on the bike, and JB wasn't. So that's a conflict. You got a problem on each side. One of the biggest parts of conflict is communication. These two guys never communicated correctly in the beginning. Maybe JB never said, I want my money on the 1st, and he's pissed off because he's getting it on the 15th. Because these guys, they won't talk. They do this a lot over a beer and a handshake. And now you got to deal with it because they're in your club and they're about to destroy the whole club. And it becomes your problem as Sergeant at Arms when you had nothing at all to do with these two idiots who can't even seem to get along for 10 seconds anyway. They weren't getting along before that. Why they even made a deal together, you never know, because they never got along in the first place. But it becomes your job to deal with. So the first thing you have to do is you have to have an open mind. Every time you hear something, you've got to say, okay, I've got that. And you have to do your due diligence to make sure that you completely investigate the other side, to see where the other side is coming from. And it's kind of a hard thing to do if you've allowed yourself to become involved in MC politics and you feel strongly about one side or the other of any political situation that you might be thinking about. One thing that a great Sergeant at Arms does is stays neutral over everything. No matter what I hear, I'm neutral. Good Sergeant at Arms, good Sergeants at Arms never haze prospects. Why? Why don't you haze prospects? Because you may have to judge that prospect. That prospect may come to you and you have to make a decision on whether or not they're going to be punished or fined. So if you've been slapping around on the guy and mistreating him, now you come up with a judgment that's against him. You're no longer pure in this. And one of the great things I like about being a Sergeant at Arms is the purity of the position. If you handle yourself like Switzerland, when you make your decisions, no matter how harsh they may be, you can do that because you're making decisions on the best interest of the club at all times. You can make your decisions because you have sat above the fray. You can make your decisions because you haven't come down into the weeds like the regular guys and participated in the regular BS. So that when you speak from a position of authority and a position of respect. People know that you're going to be fair because they know you're neutral. They don't mind bringing problems to you because they know you're going to see the best solution for each side and always gear your judgments towards what's best for the MC and what's fair for the individuals. And you can only do that by being fair, by being open-minded, and by applying the rules to every single person the same way. You apply the rules to the president the same way you apply the rules to the prospect. And so when you are confronted with conflict, people are in your club, people in your organization, your brothers, are more apt to step down because the sergeant at arms said so. The sergeant at arms said, stop. Be cool. Sergeant says, hey, sergeant's looking. That's when you know you're doing things right, because people know that you are not to be played with. You're fair, but when it comes time to be stern, you ain't playing around. So, fairness, listening to both sides, hearing each side out equally. You know, there's nothing like it when you've made up your mind and a guy starts talking and you cut him off. A good sergeant at arms cuts off no one. If you have to, you get one of those little game sand things, hourglass. No, is that what they're called? Where you flip it over and the sand runs through, you flip it back over and the sand runs through. One of those things is absolutely amazing because you can take that thing and say, okay, you got 2 minutes. Tell me what's going on. And in this way, you get to hear each side out thoroughly as you're trying to sort through the minutia to make a decision that you're going to have to be called upon to make. So you want to be able to understand the entirety of what each side is thinking, of what each side is feeling, of what each side says happened, how it affects each side, and most importantly, how each side feels they have been wronged. And being wronged doesn't necessarily mean that you've been wronged. It means that your perception is that you've been wronged. And if your perception is that you've been wronged, then damn it for you, you've been wronged. And you want that wrong righted. The next thing you have to do is you have to come upon an agreement of language. If you can't agree to language, in other words, what does this mean? So if someone says, in a motorcycle club, it's really easy. Someone says you have to have a motorcycle in order to be able to be a member. Well, that is a big, wide gap in there. What does having a motorcycle mean? What is the language here? What are we going to agree to? Does having a motorcycle mean that it's sitting in your garage, not working, torn apart with the engine laid out in 1,000 different pieces, never capable of ever being put back together again, yet you have a motorcycle? Or is having a motorcycle meaning that, yes, I've got one, but I never ride it? Or does having a motorcycle mean you've got to ride it and be at every single thing we're doing no matter what? So that's a big language, and it's open to interpretation, and it's open to crises and conflict because people are speaking different languages. When this guy is saying A, this other guy's hearing B, this other guy's hearing C. So as the conflict resolution mediator guy, you come in and you say, okay, first of all, what is the definition of what this conflict being resolved is to you? Well, I know what I might think it is. You guys stop fighting. But what is the definition of I'm satisfied with the resolution, and now that I have this resolution, this issue is dead? So you got to get down to the bottom line of what people are expecting and what they want, and for them, what the end of the crisis, what the end of the issue will be. And once you've decided and you've communicated that language, you have to also communicate the definitions. Is a blue sky purple, blue, blue, cream blue? What is a blue sky? what is the meaning of lie? What is the meaning of red? What is the meaning? Sometimes you got to get real down and you got to get real detailed, because the masters at deflection will try to deflect you off of the points with BS. That's what masters of deflections do. And what they want to do is they want to muddy the waters, and they most especially want to muddy the waters of understanding by getting the definitions of what things mean screwed up. So you got to get down to the definitions. What does this mean? What are we arguing about? And what does it mean to you? When you say that you haven't been done right, what does not being done right mean to you? Because this other guy saying, I never did anything wrong to this guy, everything is perfect, I've been meeting the terms of our agreement perfectly. So now that you have all the definitions down, you have the expectations. This is what I expected. This is what's not happening. This guy cheated and this guy messed with my girl. But what is the definition of my girl? Because in the motorcycle club, it might be a different definition. In our club, you were allowed to have a main girl, and you were allowed to have a girl on the side. And I believe the old fellas said you could have a third one, and then every other girl was fair game. So some guy, this is his sixth girl, and she's married to someone. That's not your girl. Well, maybe it is to him. So he talked to somebody I was talking to. Well, our rules say that our definition of your girl, that's not her. She's married. She's got another. Are you serious? But I've seen these things. So you have to come down to what the definition of being wronged is. And if that is a definition that everybody accepts. Because, dude, maybe you need to go on with that. We don't accept that as even. That's not even a problem as far as we're concerned. So you got to delineate the expectations, the meanings, what the conflict is about, what each side feels like it's gone through, how each side has been wronged, and what each side feels will make it whole. Not until you get those definitions do you even have a hope of resolving the conflict. Resolving conflict is a lot more about getting people to compromise than it will ever be about you as a sergeant at arms giving someone an order. You can order two kids into a room and have each one sit on either side of the room and go to bed without supper. And tomorrow they'll be fighting over the same damn thing once again. So your job is to find a path by which Israel and Palestine can get along. And that might not be easy to do. Now, this was my first part of many lessons we're going to do out of my book, Sergeant at Arms. And it's the first part, part one of conflict resolution. What we're trying to do is define what the conflict is. We're trying to figure out how the parties feel that they've been wronged, what their disagreements are, and what resolution will mean to them. Next, we'll talk about negotiation. Now that we figured out everything that's wrong and what each side needs to be whole, now we got to figure out what do we got to do to get you there. And there are some time-honored ways to get there, to start out from something that you think you can't win and move into something that is very winnable for the MC. The MC wins when everybody gets along. The MC wins when the brothers are happy. The MC wins when there's no conflicts within the MC and there are no conflicts on the outside of the MC. That's when the MC wins. So as Sergeant at Arms, you are just, oh my goodness, so desirous of getting to that point. Well, I see that I have some of you guys on the line. I don't see any questions, so it's been fun talking with you this afternoon. I'm Black Dragon. You can get Prospects our Sergeant at Arms Bible at sergeantatarmsbible.com. Sergeantatarmsbible.com is one word. You can also get it from Amazon and it's on Kindle and places like that. And or you can just listen to me talk about it, because I'll be talking about the whole book. So I hope that helps. It seems that I maintained a lot of you for the whole time, so it looks like most people listened all the way through. That's kind of how I know if you guys are kind of getting it or not. So I hope this helps. 26 minutes is a good time to talk, and maybe a little too much. But if you have any questions, be sure to hit me up on this video. You can hit me up in the comments, or you can email me, blackdragon@blacksabbathmc.com. There's 2 B's in Sabbath. blackdragon@blacksabbathmc.com. I appreciate you all for watching, and I am thankful for all of you who write into me. It's a blessing to be able to talk to you all, and especially you Sergeant at Arms. You've got a big 200 pages or more job, and I hope that I can help you guys as you go down that path to being the best sergeants at arms that you could possibly be. I'm Black Dragon, author of Sergeant at Arms Bible, Prospects Bible for Women's Motorcycle Club, and the PRO's Bible. Have a productive day and get skinny.